Hello viewers, welcome to Core for Any. If you hear new, hit subscribe buttons and notification bell so you can never miss any our incredible content. Data taxi app inside today we need to calls here the MySQL library we need to imports because we need to static data save inside the local database inside the save here. We need to use this here the SQLite database inside this app and to all the APIs get this data and to save this data inside the local database. How can use this library? Need to explain in details this video, and tomorrow need to call this here the API and to save this here the data. And also today we need to create here the database helper class. We need to develop here and to easy to insert this data inside the common class. This is the good way and efficient and highly recommend this class because we need to every time my code source codes inside the company inside need to use this like these methods and easy way. First of all, need this here the library. First of all, need to explain this here the API data response. Need to explain here. First of all, need to open this here Postmans. I have already called this API inside the local node.js. And tomorrow need to creating. Yesterday need to create this API the static data API need to calling here. First of all, need to call this here the HTTP local. Give this here the ports and also need to give this here the API. And this is the static data. And then after need to call this here the last call times need to give this years after need be these times after not possible to get this data need to matters years dates. If you like this sets here the date times and to set this years. Now need to call this API and to get this response first of all need to explain this here the details in this response one by one need to explain here the columns. First of all, here the zone list need to inside our server database inside save this like this data, zone ID, zone names, zone sessions, city, text, status, created dates, modified dates. Need to like these columns are the creating inside these zone list tables. Need to save this here. And then after the service details tables inside we need to available service id, service name, seats, colors, icon, top icons, genres, status, created dates, modified dates, and descriptions. Like these columns are the need inside the local database. And then after the price detail tables, price id, zone id, service id, base charge, per kilometer charge, per minute charge, booking charge, minimum fare, minimum kilometer, cancel charge, tax, status, created dates, modified dates. Like this need to needs inside the price details. Then after the document tables inside the documents id, documents name, document types, status, created dates, modified dates. Like these tables need to create inside this local database. And then after need to available here the zone document tables. Inside we to need this here the zone document id, zone id, service id, personal documents, car documents, required personal documents, required car documents, status, created dates, modified dates. Like these tables inside columns are the needs inside the local database. Like this need to call this here the response. Now need to create here calling first of all need to import here the library SQLite. So need to add this here first of all we need to open this here the subspace and to write down here the SQL app lights. We need to call this here the library, need to use these versions and to calling this here. We need to import this library inside our projects. We need to copy these versions and to paste inside the subspace. Now need to go inside the subspace and to import here and to save this here. And now need to creating here the connections between the database. Need to need this here the configurations. First of all, so need to go inside the common structures, need to go commons and to create here the files for the DB helpers. Files need to write down here and to needed here. Create new files. Right click on the common folders and to create the new files. And to give these names here DB helpers. Database helper is good, otherwise give this here the DB helpers. DB helper is short names, that's why I need to give this here the DB helper dot arts. Like this need to create things here. Now first of all need to need this here the class creates here, give this here the name DB helper like this here. And then after need to create here the abstract class need to develop here, need to give this here the singleton class need to creating here, and every time not call this here the names, and to use directly without creating instance need to use this here the static objects need to use this here, and to write down here single stones like this. New create database need to give this here internals methods like this. Then to create here the factory functions db helpers is equal to give this here singleton objects need to creating here like this. And now we need to initialize here the internal functions need to initialize first of all. Then after need to defining here static db helper database, and we need to give this here optionals db, remove this here the extra matrix and no needs, and like this. Then after need to call this here the futures, give this here the database and question mark like this, and to get this here the get db, and to call this here the since methods inside of to write down here if db not equal to null, and to return this here db like this here. And then after maybe need to declare here the underscores is good because need to use this here another methods, that's why call this here like this. And otherwise you need to call this here db is equal to await, and init db need to write down the function init db functions need to call this here inside into write down here like this data, and also need to return here db like this, and also need to call this here static db helper share object, we need to create here shared, and to call this single stone like this, and also need to write down here equals here database db helper dot internal all these functions here, and also need to remove this here the new keywords no needs like this need to callings as a singleton class. These methods are important because need to create here the singleton class memory inside one time initialize after not initialize this class, and to occupy it only the one time, that's why need to call this here the singleton class, and to one time initialize and multiple times need to use this here the like share object like this need to use this here this class like this need to logic set here. And now need to get here first of all the database path, need to write down here the string database path is equal to await functions need to call this here, always need to give this here since methods, and need to write down here await, and we need to get this here the database path, we need to get this here now string, and to give this here the path is equal to use this here join methods, maybe right here import package path dot slash like this package here to call this here the join, and we need to write down here the database path, and we need to give this here database name data dot db. Like this we need to creating here the path, and then after need to write down here check this here db exist. All this here the await database exist functions need to call this here and to give this here the path, and now need to print this here this methods need to write down here is db exist like this, and print also the path because need to sometimes need to copy this database, that's why need to print here the path which path inside the save this database like this, and also need to write down here one conditions in debug modes and to test this. Now need to write down here where db is equal to await open database, and to give this here the path, and also need to write down here the version set here the ones, and on create methods need to write down here, and also need to calling here on functions void on create, and to give this here database db, and need to write down here it new version. Call this here the since methods is, and to call these methods here like these methods are the callings, and need to return this here the db. If you not use these variables, you need to directly call this here these functions like this here. This is the not declaring here the any db variables, direct call like this here, and now print here the debug print functions need to use this here, and to call this here db created tables like this calling here for these functions. Now need to write down here await functions need to calling this here. Now need to execute here the database query. First of all need to create here the create tables, and to declare some tables names and columns names need to declare in the tops. First of all to declaring here inside the helper class, and to define here the static words static finals need to give this here the string, and need to write down here the names tb on list is equal to need to give this here so on list like this. Need to create here is maybe need to set here launch copy here, and another tables need to put this here. Now one by one the copy this path service details, same as need to give this here service details this here service details, and then after need to write down here the price details here, put this here price details, and then after need to creating here the document tables, give this here the documents into db documents like this, and Then after need to create here the zone document tables. Yes, zone document tables like set here price, details, and service. Use this here the document like this. Need to creating here the tables names and to create here. And then after need to write down here columns names need to define here one by one. So need to minimize this here and open this here the postman response. Open this here and now need to defining here the columns names. Need to write down here the static string and to give this here the name c dots, maybe directly pass this here the name zone id. Need to copy here. Now need to copy here the zone list. First give this here the zone list. Then after need to give this here the zone name. This here like this zone sessions. Then after city. Then after text. Then after status. Then after created dates and modified dates. And now need to create here the camel case. This variable declare as a camel case. Like this sets here. For this here the zone table. Same as need to create copy here. Now need to service details wise need to creating like this. Use this here to commit this code. Now need to declare here the service ID, service name as the service name. Then after sheet, use this here sheet. Then after color, set here color icon, the top icon as a give this here top icon. Genders, use this here the gender. Then after status already given, created dates given, descriptions now use this here the description columns like this and to format this tabs. And this is the service details are the done. Now need to create here the price detail tables. Need to need this here the columns to enters here. Now declare is here the price id, zone id already given, service id given. Give this here the basic charge, and kilometer per charge. Then after the per minute charge, then after the booking charge, then after the minimum fare, minimum kilometers, cancel charge, then after the text, status created dates, no modified dates already clear inside the column are the creatings. Now need to use this here the document tables, need to give this here the documents ID, then after the name, then after type, Now this document details tables input columns names are the defining years, and now need to create here the zone tables. Need to copy some columns and to paste this years like this. Now need to give this here the zone documents ID and commit these lines and to paste this years. On ID service ID personal documents need to give this here the personal documents like this. Car documents as car documents. Then after the paste for required for the personal documents required for the car documents. Status created dates and modify dates already given here. On it's like this need to declaring here. Now need to convert into these columns are the camel case. Need to convert names, top icons, and after the price ID, base charge, kilometer charge, and minute charge, booking charge, minimum fare, kilometer, and cancel charge. Tags already given. That's been not no needs here. So remove here. ID, name, types, zone documents ID, personal documents, car documents, required personal document, required car document. Like this, we need to creating here the columns and to all these here. Now we need to create here the tables insert query. Need to write down here and to with primary key we need to assign these here. First of all, we need to create here the tables inside. Need to given this here the names. First of all, create here the table codes, and now need to write down here the syntax create table table name, and to write down here the dollars. Give this here the tb name, so on list, and then after we need to create here the brackets and to give this here the column names, so on id, and we need to give this here the text and to set here the primary key. Like this here. Then after we need to create here the another columns names. We need to give given this here zone names. Use this here zone name and to write down here the text property for these columns. Then another columns need to give this here zone JSONs. Set here the text property. Then after we need to needs here the city to give this here the dollars and to write down here the city and to set as a text property like this. And then after we need to give this here the text property dollar text and to write down the, then need to give this here the status dollar status and to write down here the txt bbm to z's and to minimize like this full column. And after need to create it dates and modify dates need to given this here as a text, then modify date, set here the text property. Like this we need to creating here the set for these tables for the creating here the zone list. And then after we need to copy this here these functions we need to give this here paste many times like this and to convert inside the another tables need to use this here. Now need to call this here the service list tables service detail give this here the tb dot service details like this. Now need to give this here the need here the service id, then after service name, then after give this here the seat, then after need to give this here color, then after need to set here the icon, then after the top icon, then after created dates, modified dates and status, use this here the dollars, channels and set here the text to change this paste this capitals. Then after to create here the dollar status, set here the text like this. Created date, modified dates, and also need to give this here the description columns. Need to put this here dollar descriptions to set here the text. This. Now this is the DB creating here the service detail tables are the query are the done executions, and then after need to call this here the another query. Price detail tables need to give this here like this here. So now need to give this here the price ID. Then after need to give this here the zone ID. Then after need to give this here the service ID. Then after need to give this here the base charge. Then after need to give this here per image charge. Then status created dates are the needs. That's why I need to copy here. Minute charge. Then after booking charge. Minimum fare. Then after need to all this here the minimum kilometers. Then after need to give this here the cancel charge. Then after need to give the status text. Created dates status created dates and modified dates for the price detail tables are the needs need to put this here like this here, and then after need to write down here another tables. Need to call this here the document tables like this here. Now need to give this here the id, zone documents id like this here, zone id. Then after need to give this here the service id for into wrong tables integrations. To change this here the table names, zone document, set here the service id. Then after need to give this here the personal documents, then card document. And after need to give this here the required personal documents. Yeah. Then after need to create here the required card documents. Set here the text column like this settings here for the documents. Now need to cut these lines and to put these here. Create here the document tables. And now need to call this here document ID. Then after the name and after type, then after need to give the status and modify dates. Like this we need to creating here the tables are the creatings and execute this query are the set here. Now need to write down here the one functions static futures and to db clears all. Like this need to create here the functions name all and to need to copy cut this here since this here and we need to write down here if db so full equal to null and to return these functions are the calls. Now need to call this here the wait and to write down here the db question mark and to call this here the execution the query and to give this here the delete from with this here the table names db dot son like this ratings here for the same as need to create here the by another tables need to give this here the one by ones to clear this here the database tables for these functions. Like this you need to creating here the this query need to call this here and also another right here the functions static future db clear table with this here the string dot table since methods calls here copy these lines need to paste this here now need to pass this here the table like this need to creating here another functions need to write down here the futures dot close functions need to write down here the since methods and to call this here the db where the client is equal to await db and to call this here the return db client question mark dots need to give this here the close methods need to call this here like this need to calling here. Now this is the DBHelper class and to configure this here like this data are the configurations are the need this here. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any questions, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out the issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care. And to tomorrow to see this here how to can save API callings get this data and to how to save inside the batch inserts inside the database into one query inside the all data need to insert for the specific one tables insert all data. Same need to write down here the batch query need to in tomorrow.